Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Alan Steinfeld, along with...
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Tara, and welcome to the very first UAPCon. UApedia.ai is our sponsor for today, and UApedia is much more than a website. It's a foundational grassroots effort to build a stable scaffolding of facts in a landscape that has for decades been defined by shadows and whispers. It's building the what, the essential community verified library of facts about our strange new reality. And here today at UAPCon, we take the next critical step forward. We move from the what to the what next. This is not a conference for those who see the phenomena merely as a technological mystery. This is a gathering for those who recognize that we are standing on a threshold. We are here because we understand that the presence of a non-human intelligence is not a headline. It's a fault line running directly through the bedrock of human identity. We are here to explore the seismic shifts this triggers within our consciousness, our cultures, and the very definition of what it means to be human. Over the next few hours, we'll turn our collective focus inward to the deeper questions. How do we confront the shattering of our reality, what the late, great Dr. John Mack termed ontological shock, without succumbing to fear, but with the courage and grace needed to architect a new world? How do we take the shattered fragments of our old story, our science, our religions, our sense of self, and consciously construct a truer understanding of our cosmic reality? And importantly, who are we deciding to become in the presence of this revelation? To guide us through these questions, we've gathered a remarkable group of thought leaders. Our summit today begins with Jeffrey Nuccetelli, a former Air Force military police officer who courageously stepped forward to testify before the United States Congress, detailing his own UAP encounters while serving and demanding transparency on behalf of the American people. From there, our day will unfold in three distinct movements. First, we'll deconstruct the nature of reality itself with Dr. Riz Verk on simulation theory, Paul Hynek on the outer limits of perception, and Harvard-trained neuroscientist Dr. Daniel Branco mapping the inner landscape of consciousness. After challenging our constructions of reality, we'll turn to the inevitable human consequence, the search for new meaning and deeper purpose. We'll hear directly from the iconic voice of experiencer Whitley Strieber and sit with profound scholars like Dr. Jeffrey Kripal and Dr. Kim Engels, who have dedicated their lives' work to the ethical and existential weight of these encounters. Finally, we'll turn our attention to the future and ask, who must we become to build it? For this important conversation, I'll be joined by the very architects of our post-disclosure world. We'll engage with integrative thinkers like Dr. Shorn Asbjorn Hargens and futurists Drs. JJ and Desiree Hertak to chart the frameworks of our conscious cosmic future. And our day will culminate with a keynote from the president of IONS, Dr. Thomas Brophy, on the future of science itself. This inaugural UAPCon is a platform for us to confront the known and unknown and embrace uncertainty as we catalyze growth for both us as individuals and humanity as a collective. UApedia provides the factual map of the known territory, and UAPCon is the expedition into the vast unknown wilderness of its meaning. So in the spirit of courageous collaborative inquiry, let us begin. And there's no better guide for this exploration than our host for today. He's a true explorer of consciousness who's spent 30 years charting the confluence of the inner soul and the outer cosmos, author and creator of the award-winning Amazon bestseller, Making Contact, Preparing for the New Realities of ET Existence. He's a regular speaker and host of the largest UFO event in the world, Contact in the Desert, and the host of New Realities, where he's engaged with nearly every luminary in the field of consciousness. He embodies the very synthesis we're exploring here today, the place where the rigorous mind meets the open heart. So please give me a very, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to my dear friend and our guide, Alan Steinfeld.
Thank you, Tara Di Liberto. Let me do a brief introduction to
Hi,
you
Alan.
so people... Hey, Tara, thanks for making this happen. You really birthed this into being as the woman here. But let me introduce you because you have a really significant background as a doctor, PhD, spiritually inclined, transpersonal clinical psychologist whose mental health startup. You're the founder of a mental health startup that is really going to make an impact for everyone on this planet. You're a retreat leader, a former faculty member of Cornell University Medical Center and Harvard. I have to say, you don't have that in there, but Harvard. And your breakthrough book on eating disorders really has helped women find themselves, and in your own process of transcending the egoic attachments, you've had an awakening yourself. So you're the perfect person to be here and to think, let's do this event and see how we can redefine not just the phenomena, but who we are in relationship to the phenomena. I think that's really what people are looking for. Not so much information or, oh, there's a picture, here's an ET, but how do we respond? How do we make meaning really from this situation that has snuck up on humanity, thinking we have it all together, and suddenly there's something here and saying, wait a minute, we're not the top of the food chain. There's more to reality. We need to understand and have a meaningful exchange with this phenomena. So that's what I think the context of today can really be about. And your paper on ontological
Absolutely. Thank you
shock.
so much, Alan. And
Go ahead. Oh, you were going to say, go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know. For me, the internet is coming through a little bit choppy, but Alan, yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. So yes, I've written a paper on ontological shock and also one on the mindful stages of disclosure, which is on uapedia.ai in the featured section. So I'm very, very excited to be here today with you, Alan, and also Jeff Nuccetelli, who is part of the reason why we can speak openly about these topics as academics. Alan, you've been speaking openly about this for decades, and,
right.
And thankfully you have. And and with Jeff, right, and with Jeff providing his congressional testimony, it really provides so much validity from the powers that be. Right, we as experiencers know that the phenomena is real, but now the gates have been opened for us to have a really serious conversation about UAP and the implications. And so it's really an honor, Jeff, to have you here today at UAPCon.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'm going to do a brief, just a brief introduction so people, in case they did not see the congressional hearing on September 9th, they know who you are. And I have to say, it takes a lot of courage to come forward and share your military experience in front of government officials and risk your reputation and possibly be threatened, because people have been threatened coming forward. So thank you for the courage to be here and to be in front of Congress. So just to tell people who you are, you're a U.S. Air Force veteran and experiencer, former U.S. Air Force security police officer, and the congressional witness on September 9th, 2025. And you described at that congressional hearing UAP incursions over highly secured military installations. And this experiencer testimony was offered as a firsthand perspective on the breach of national security and institutional secrecy. That was your job. And these incursions challenge the very reason why you were there. I mean, so you were placed in a bit of a predicament. So, but you've come forward. One more part here is that the operational realities faced by military personnel encountering this anomalous phenomena need to be addressed, and thank you for addressing it. So
thank you, Alan. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited. This is what needs to happen. So thank you.
Right. So let's start this discussion with understanding what's really going, maybe not even understanding. Because understanding comes after we acknowledge the phenomena is a reality. So from your perspective, Jeff, how do we start to educate people to the reality that something is here? We may not know what it is, because we just get fear and dogma from the inside, from the government, and you're standing for something else. So what is the first way to approach this phenomena from your point of view?
Well, it's a lot, right?
Right.
So it depends on where people are, in the reality, the framework that they're operating in. So, I've been saying reality is classified. And what I mean by that, there are parts of nature, apparently, that we are not allowed to know about, right? And the UAP phenomenon and the phenomenon in general is, the part of reality that we're not allowed to explore. And that's the situation we find ourselves in. These events are obviously happening, right? There's a historical record that stretches back, beginning of the United States of America. There's a historical record that goes back into antiquity. Every major religion, probably all religions, start with an interaction with the sky, right? So we've been chronicling as human beings our observed experience from the beginning of time. And all of our most important writings and texts are talking about what the supernatural or the outliers, the things that are unexplainable. And that's what humanity has focused its attention on in all our greatest literature. But now in this modern age, we've been told that that's all superstition and fables and fantasy. And we were trained and told what to believe. And that what we've been trained and told is the world is not enchanted. There is no mystery. Everything can be measured and explained. And if we keep working on our scientific tools and methods, eventually we'll understand the truth about reality. And I think that's as far from the truth as we can get, because reality is subjective, and science cannot properly measure subjective experience. So until we can figure out how to blend the subjective and objective into some kind of workable framework, we're going to be in trouble, right? Because we've only got half the picture. So I think that's where we need to start. We need to give permission to people to believe what they believe and express what they are actually experiencing in their lives. Because the world we live in now, we're told you're crazy or that's delusional, that's impossible. But we keep running into the impossible, right? We keep seeing things in the sky and in the water and lights in the forest and things in our homes that are supposed to be impossible, but they're happening. And now they're happening, this movement, we're bringing all these people together with conferences and things. So these events are happening now with groups of people, right?
Right.
So we need to forge a way forward to allow people to talk about reality, what they're really seeing and experiencing in their lives, without losing their careers or their professional licenses or whatever, just because they report that they've seen a UFO or something. So that's the beginning. And that's exactly what you're doing now. You're holding the conversation.
And what you've done again paves the way for people to come forward and point to this official report, right? There have been official reports in Congress that this is real. Our government is taking this seriously. There's a UAP task force, right? And that allows us to come out of the shadows, which is such a crucial step, because when these anomalous events are happening in science, we call them low base rate behaviors, meaning they occur every now and then. It's very difficult to triangulate what's happening when these low base rate behaviors are occurring. Actually, my research is spanned a few different topics, but suicide is an example of a low base rate behavior. It's difficult to study because it only happens unpredictably. Similarly with UAP. So from a scientific perspective, it is, to your point, very difficult to construct these frameworks. But the people in this conference are doing the work of developing frameworks, thankfully, for all of us, so that we have even more reference points and context for these experiences. So again, a pretty foundational landmark day today to be having these discussions in the open with
Go
you
ahead,
and
Jeff.
Alan.
Jeff.
That's the point. We need to pay attention to the outliers, right? That's where the magic happens. That's where the innovations happen. That's where the new discoveries happen. And we're being told don't. Like if there's something odd, the current framework, they'll try to explain the outliers away. And they'll do mental gymnastics to do anything but actually study the outlier, right? We need to change it. We need to give people courage to explore.
Right. I also think we can hope for answers or even understanding at this point. Understanding comes after what I've been researching, meaning. And the meaning we give something unexplained is how we relate to it. So the meaning shows us, well, there's this gap in knowledge. There's a limit to our cultural understanding. The reality is not fully accounted for. But if we can be with that, if we can understand that, instead of taking the narrative as this means this is evil, go away, and it doesn't exist anyway, that puts us out of balance. But if we can confront this by saying, okay, this is real, it's happening. How can I respond to this? Will I respond from fear, or will I respond from curiosity? And that changes everything. And it's up to each one of us to decide for ourselves how we want to respond. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. For every single person, this is an individual journey, right?
Right.
How you integrate the experience, how you process it, how it changes your life and the framework that you operate on. And that's the thing. People have been dealing with this alone.
Right.
I've been basically, it's kind of lucky for me because I had my experience with other close friends, in the military. So I could pick up the phone and call them and be like, did that happen? 10 years ago? And they'd say, yeah. And then we talk about it for 4 hours. But imagine if you're alone somewhere, and that's pretty common, and you're the only one that saw it. I don't know what that would have done to my life, honestly. I don't know if I would have spoken about it, so that's a difficult path. So we need to figure out a way, to help people out that are having these experiences and bring them into a community where they're safe.
Right. We need to talk about it publicly. We need to prevent ontological shock. We talked to you yesterday. You were just at the James Fox hearings when the doctors from Brazil came down and examined these alien beings, and you could tell these guys are crying. They're not making up stories. They are. So you said you had a little ontological moment there at those at that hearing there.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 7 days in Brazil with all the witnesses, from the Varginha case, all the known witnesses and many that are unknown. And it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. I'm still in the afterglow. I'm still trying to process what happened. And it's the thing. That's why online is great. But when being together, right, in a room, when you could feel someone's energy, when you could hear their breath, when you could see their pulse quicken, you could see the emotion, feel it. It's different. And for me, it was very powerful because I've sort of put all the different rabbit holes into different boxes, right? And I've been focusing mainly on whistleblower protection and things like that. And, I'm not sure what the phenomenon is. I have no answers. So I have this sort of broad overarching framework about the phenomenon. And then things like, are they ETs or angels or demons? I just put those in different boxes of who knows, right? What we're dealing with. So Varginha, for me, to sit with all those people, for 7 days and get to know them and get to know their families and their grandchildren. And you get a sense of, you spend 7 days with people and you get a pretty good sense of who and what they are. Coming out of that, I'm like, okay, now I have to think about aliens, in a real way.
Not just the craft, the beings.
The beings, however we want to categorize them.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's a new paradigm for me. I have to start to integrate that, and I don't know where that journey leads.
But that's where the conversation needs to start. There's something here. And I've been studying this for 30 years, and everyone I talk to still doesn't know, even Jacques Vallée, 70 years. And he says he still doesn't know what these things are. But let's start there as a community, as a culture, as a planet. There's something here, and it's in our space, and let's be with it. You know, like in Alcoholics Anonymous, you say you can't deal with the problem unless you realize there is something there to face. It's like this. It's not a problem, but we have a situation, and it can no longer be ignored. It has
Nor
to be
denied.
right. So
Yes.
right. So, Tara, you wrote a paper on ontological shock. Explain what that means, because I think we're about to experience this as a planetary civilization. Because
Right, exactly. Right. As cases come forward and are highlighted by filmmakers like James Fox in Moment of Contact, which covers the Virginia case, which for those of you who are not aware of this case, is a rather public case of a UAP crashing and a being walking through the town of Virginia, and people seeing this being, and the being going into a hospital and getting treatment from a doctor. And this entire town is aware that this happened, and there was a situation around this, and their reality can't be denied. This happened. James and Jeff were at the National Press Club last week, I believe, discussing, I think it was on January 20th, discussing this case. And it's shocking. It's shocking, even for someone like myself who has seen craft. Jeff, I was alone the first saw a craft, and the second time I saw a craft, and then the third time I saw a craft actually was with Alan. We saw 21 blink into the sky and blink out of the sky. And in that case, that was the first time I had ever seen craft with other people. And so I had been alone in this in this experience of knowing that something was in existence, but being able to discuss it really with anybody. And that changed after having a group experience. And now with technology being what it is, with Reddit, with internet groups, with conferences, people are finding one another, and we're no longer gaslighting ourselves about what happened, nor gaslighting one another. And as we kind of grow in numbers, we're able to face what the late great Dr. Mack called ontological shock, which is the complete psychological shattering of what we believe is true, and the emotional experience of fear, and the questions, the existential questions that come up in the face of understanding that we don't understand our reality, and understanding that we don't understand what ETs are, nor what interdimensional beings are, but that there's something there, and that we don't know what the implications are. That is very, very heavy. And for those of us who have a sense of awe and wonder and curiosity, we want to know. And maybe we'll never know, but we can develop ourselves and our communities and our ability to stand in our truth together along the way. And I think, again, Jeff, I just have to say thank you so much for doing what you did, because again, without people coming forward, without true whistleblowers like yourself coming forward, right? Because there are people who we think of as whistleblowers in the community, but actually they're sanctioned by the government to say exactly what they've said. But you're really, different in that way, where you're a true whistleblower. And this is a kind of courage that we need if we're going to evolve as a species and understand our place in I guess the cosmic unfolding of what's actually happening here.
Yeah. Well, let me say a word about courage. And that's the thing. So the motivation for me, after I had these experiences at Vandenberg and all my coworkers, right? It's a heavy burden knowing that this is real, whatever it is, and seeing other people, talk about it, and then they're attacked and ridiculed and destroyed, right? And you have this responsibility, like those people might be lying, but they're probably not, right? This is real. And 20 years holding on to that burden, knowing that there's something out there, absolutely, and seeing this endless cycle of ridicule. And, that's the thing. Finally, I've had enough. And I am being completely honest. If I didn't have my friends from Vandenberg, my coworkers and the men and women I served with their hand on my shoulder, supporting me, I don't think I would have done.
Wow.
Because my reputation, I was working in the Department of Justice for the U.S. Marshal Service, reputationally based, right? I was handling major, criminal trials, historic trials. I worked on the El Chapo trial. Mm-hmm. So it's so for me coming out, to be perfectly, I came out on the Merge podcast. I think that was the most nervous I've ever been in my life, ever. So it's a big deal, but it wasn't just me. I had a team behind me, and I knew that if the whole world turned on me, they had my back. Mm-hmm. So I had, that gift. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So can you talk about the after effect of coming forward? Like, okay, you've come forward. It's been at least in front of Congress a couple of months. What's been the upshot for you and the movement in a way?
Well, the upshot, immediately there was an effect for me. I got a bombardment of veterans, Air Force veterans, many that know me or were there or know who I am, of support and more information, a flood of information.
Wow.
Because it's not just the 5 or 6 cases I talked about in the hearing at Vandenberg. Mm-hmm. It's many, many. So that is a hot spot. So that was incredibly validating. I got all this love and support from people I haven't, heard from in 25 years or so. They're encouraging me. A lot of veterans know this is real. And, so the flood is coming. The more we do this, the more hearings we have, the more military members are going to be encouraged to come forward with evidence. And you saw that, James, at the event on the 20th with Colonel Clausen. I mean, he spent 30 years as an Air Force fighter pilot, retired as a colonel, full bird colonel. And, he's the OG Dave Fravor. He engaged a UFO, got a target lock, and almost pulled the trigger. So these people are coming forward. And that's what the colonel said. Come forward, because we need you. And not just military, in every domain, civilians. If you're a psychologist out there, and I have a friend that's a clinical psychologist, and he's also a vet, and he's also a former Navy SEAL. And, alone for a long time dealing with this. And he didn't know if he was crazy. And he's a trained professional. We need to help one another. These people need support to get through.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So as a clinical psychologist, seeing those 21 craft with a bunch of people, I was gaslighting myself. I was like, oh, that didn't really happen. And even Alan had a moment of that too, right? And then we would kind of take turns like, no, that happened. No, we all saw that. Oh, wait, did we really? Yeah. And we kind of went back and forth through this process. And even being able to come out as a clinical psychologist and have this discussion, I had the same experience as you, Jeff, without my friends who are participating in this event saying, it's okay. Comfortable, and it's scary. It's scary to speak the truth. And it needs to happen because there are so many implications here. There are technological implications. There are cosmological implications. There are, so many implications that we'll be discussing today. And it's important that people with community come forward and discuss these things. So yeah, we're here.
Jeff, as we wrap up, what do you think needs to happen? Not just in the government, to people, to organization. I mean, do you have a big picture of how this can all come together to really make a definitive change in how we see reality, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, there's multiple ways we need to move forward. So one, we need to work on whistleblower protection. The U.S. service members, men and women, are the people that are going to come into contact with the phenomenon more regularly, right? We know that because, like Vandenberg, we're dealing with next generation technology that we're developing. They show up. So we need to make it safe for the people that know more to come forward. And that's a whole different battle. And my friends and I have, we're making some inroads in that regard. But I think the primary thing that we need to do is to reduce the stigma and make it okay to talk. And that's happening in real time. You've seen all these prominent celebrities come out, like I'm kind of blanking on them right now, but people are coming forward, and Thomas Jane, I think, is one an actor who's come forward, and many others. Like there's strength in numbers, and same with regular people. So I think what we need to do is we've let the engineers try, right? The engineers and the pilots and the scientists have been in charge for the last, let's say, 3 years. But now it's time for the artists. We need to inspire people. We need to express truth through art, music, movies, videos, sculptures, right?
Right.
And that might sound frivolous or ridiculous, but imagine if we've got next September 50,000 people on the mall in Washington, D.C., all celebrating. There to respectfully request that the government allow us to speak. And we have artists and musicians and people of every stripe on stages, and we rock the planet.
I agree.
Will bring attention, and that's what I'm going to do in September.
Well, I agree. I think the arts are the cultural intelligence of a civilization. So what Spielberg's doing with Disclosure Day coming out in June, what the Age of Disclosure did, what coming out like this in these nice kind of gatherings, these online gatherings and public gatherings, Contact in the Desert's a beautiful place to meet community. There's a momentum building, and
we have the high ground. We need to hold it. We'll lose it quick. So this is the time. We need to act.
But one last thing, why do you think it's been such a secret? I mean, what is the real reason for all this, this stigma that's been put on people like you and all that,
You have to break that down into a binary.
Okay.
So either what we're dealing with, the phenomenon that reality is actually so terrifying and bizarre and weird that they want to hide it, right?
Right.
Or it's so incredibly beautiful and that they want to hide. Or both, which is where I sit.
Right.
That's what there is we are under control by the government. We're monitored, there's this stigma. They don't want us to know the truth. And for many years, there's still the thought in my head late at night. And it's like, am I on the wrong side of disclosure? Are the people hurting my friends willing to do anything, keep it secret? Maybe they're really the good guys. If that's true, I want to know. If it's terrible, I want to know. I want to deal with it. I want to prepare. I want to respond. I want a chance to fight, to live, to survive, or whatever.
Right.
So that's where I'm.
Right. We need to be treated as mature adults here, right? Like we're being treated like children. The truth
in the government. Somebody knows whatever that truth is. If they can handle it, I can handle it. Right.
And the people of the planet we can all handle it, because it's our maturation. We are becoming a new species as we get new information about the cosmos and who we're here with. So Jeff, thanks so much for taking the
so much.
time, for the courage, for the effort, and for the continuous effort, because now you're part of it. There's no turning back. You can't close that door. You've opened it. So
I'm all in. This is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Like me and James Fox, guys like us, once we're in it, we're in it. So
well, it is the
good
most
things are gonna be
interesting
happening.
thing. It is the most interesting thing happening on the planet because there are no answers. There's just questions.
If you want a quest,
An experience.
right? If you want an adventure of a lifetime, if you want to meet amazing, beautiful people and have incredible experiences, you don't need money.
Right.
You just need to make some friends and go out and look up.
And that friend for me was Alan Steinfeld. And Jeff, so lovely to have you here officially again in our crew. Thank you so much for your
thank you for this. This is a beautiful initiative. Get this rolling. Make it big. Make it beautiful. Gather your forces. Make your friends, and it's rock and roll time.
Right.
That's
Jeff, how can
right.
people find you? What's the best way to kind of tune into where you're at and what you're doing?
I have a Twitter account and an Instagram account. I'm more on Twitter, less so now that I'm so busy. And then I have the Jeff Nuccetelli podcast. You could just Google Jeff Nuccetelli and that'll come up. We haven't been me and my producer Tom Vernon, my best friend. This brought Tom and I together, and thank God for that, because he's one of my best friends now.
Right.
So me and Tom have been busy behind the scenes with other initiatives. We haven't put a lot of content out yet, but hopefully we'll be bringing some information out. But yeah, just Google me. You can find me.
We're looking forward to that. So Jeff, stay in touch. We'll do this again, maybe more expanded next time. So thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Isn't that fantastic? That is a real hero coming forward to tell the truth of how he sees it without submitting to the pressures of people telling you to be quiet and all that. So that's what we need as a community, as a collective society. Thanks, Tara, for being here today and co-hosting this. And let's thank all the people tuning in from around the world, and some special broadcasts like our friend Holly Ann Wood in England and her people at Nanu, and all the people that are tuning in now, because this is a community event. This is something we're all part of, because like I said, no one has the answers. So in the chat, you can talk if you have any questions or any comments about what you hear today. We love that kind of participation. All right.